Everyone online says you need to scale with a course. And I say, sell the damn service. I'm Emylee Williams, award winning consultant and Productized offer expert since 2014. And I'm here to help you work less, make more, and stop custom building your burnout. Each week, we talk strategy, structure, and the real stories behind sustainable service businesses. From service providers who like doing service work, who want to stay in service work, but also just make more money. If you're ready for all that yapping, then let's dive in. Y'all, my 3-in-1 treadmill came in yesterday, and I used it for the first time this morning. And I fear I might make walking a shit ton of miles every single day my entire personality. I have been wanting to, move my body more and be a little bit more active. And I love going for walks and even, short runs. And I've just done that outside. And I've always used the weather as my it's too hot or it's raining or it's too cold or it's too dark or whatever. And so I'm never able to be really consistent with it. And we went out of town a couple weeks ago and I was just anxious about some stuff. I kind of had a bad attitude and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to the gym and I'm actually going to do a little run. And so I got on a treadmill for the first time. And I've physically been on a treadmill before, but I literally cannot tell you the last time. And so I did a run on this treadmill. It's just a 30-minute Peloton run. Pretty light, pretty easy. And I loved it. Legitimately loved it. And immediately it became my obsession to figure out what was the machine that was going to be right for me. And I really wanted something that was kind of an all-in-one. So can I walk on it and it has a desktop so that I can actually work? Can I also do light runs on it? Because full transparency, I am not a marathon girly. I am not prepping or training for any run. I don't do extensive runs at all. My run is a fast jog, right? And that's fine. I don't need it to be any more than that. And so I don't need a real, quote unquote, real treadmill for those purposes. And so it can be a little, lighter and have a couple different features. And so I did, as one does, looked at, for 20, 30 different treadmills and had a couple selections down and was just reading reviews and watching videos and listening to how loud is it and what's the strength and what's the horsepower, what's the, all of the things. And so I finally selected one and it got here yesterday and I did my first mile whilst working on my laptop this morning. The tray can slide on or off and I can set my coffee and my computer and my phone, and there's a little remote for it. And so I was able to do a pretty slow pace walk this morning, and I walked for a mile while I worked, and I'm addicted. I am truly, truly super into it. And so I'm hoping that the one that I got is going to last because it was very, not as nowhere near the price of what a solid traditional treadmill is. And so we will see. I will keep you updated. But outside of walking for miles and treadmill conversations, I want to get back to the conversation of productization. And I've been letting you guys in on what the fuck productization even means and why does it matter. And today I want to talk about signs that I want you to start paying attention to in your business that are going to tell you whether productization is the right move for you, but also if you're ready to do it. If you have enough of the results and clarification and data and insight and interest in order for productization to be the next best move for you. Do I believe that productization is right for every done for you service provider? Yes. That is something that I can like adamantly say. I'm not saying you're going to want to do it or that it's right for the business model that you're wanting to either scale up or change into. But if you are a done for you service provider that provides deliverables, assets, um, revisions, feedback, whatever, productization can absolutely work for you, even if you continue to be a solopreneur or want to scale into an agency. And it is one of the things that I feel very confident saying that it is the only lever that makes sense to pull if you want to increase your revenue in a service-based business and not want to resort to low-price digital one-to-many offers. It is the option because as we've kind of talked about in a couple of other episodes, if you're at the ceiling, right? It's that capacity revenue ceiling. You can't work with any more people because you do not have any more time, but you're unable to, tap into your next level of revenue that you want to because you can't work with any more people because you're at capacity. And it's just this kind of like, well, okay, well, what do I do to get past that? And not everyone wants to get past that, and that's fine. That's part of the like know thyself that you need to filter all the conversations that I'm having, but that you're listening to from anyone, right? Do I want more? And so the top level filter before we even dive into specifically being ready for productization, I really truly want you to ask yourself and be honest with yourself. Do I actually want or need more revenue? That's the first question. And that's truly where I want you to start, not work with more people. Do I want or need more revenue? And if the answer to that is yes, then the question is, do I want to continue in my service-based business and make more revenue? Right? Don't sit there when you're answering these. What I don't want you to do is, yes, I want more revenue, but like I'm going to tell myself I don't want it because I don't see how it's possible. Yes, I want it, but I'm going to tell myself I don't want it because the only way it's possible is with strategies that I don't want to do. And it's with marketing and social media and more leads. And I don't want to do that. So therefore, I don't want more revenue. That's not what we're doing. Just because you don't know what it could take, what it will take in order for you to get that result doesn't mean that it can't happen. Okay? That's kind of the like filter lens that I want you to be having when I have conversations about anything. Just because you don't understand the strategy and you don't know what the next step is, doesn't mean that getting that result isn't possible. Okay? So if we can agree on that, then we can move forward. So if we're in agreement about, yes, I would like more revenue. Yes, I like my service business and I want to stay in it. And I want to figure out how this business can serve me even better, right? If you're like most service providers, you love what you do and you love who you do it for and you love the results that you get, right? And if you could do it in a more systematized way or a streamlined way or a way that, saved you some time and made you some more money and allowed you to impact more people in the way that you love to, those feel like really giant green check marks that we can move forward into the productization conversation. All right. But now we get into the specifics of, is productization right for you? And are you ready for it? Now, with a with a lot of conversations around strategy in any industry, there is a big caveat of like, it depends, right? Some of the conversation and the filters that I'm going to be talking about today are definitely personality driven, right? If you are the type of personality who, then yes, you can be more ready for this than someone else. There are just a handful of hard and fast, like you need to have these in place in order for this to be the easy next step. Because some of us, and we've all done this, right? We've all been guilty of it, where we're looking at our business and we're looking, especially, if we're wanting to grow, right? Get into the next level, whether it's grow from 0 to the next step or 5 to the next step, whatever, it doesn't matter. We all sometimes like look at that journey and that pathway and we're like, oh, well, if I'm at 0, then how can I get to 5? And the conversation is, if I'm at 0, your next step is 1. You might go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 really quickly. That's not, that's definitely a thing, but you got to have 1 first before you get to 5. And that's very much this productization conversation, right? And there are some of you who are at a specific layer of business, stage of business, and maybe you're at a 7 and productization is a 15, and you can go from 7 to 15 pretty quickly because of your personality, because of your resources, because of your network, because of your industry. Right? There are a lot of things that line up for you to get there faster. If productization is 15 and you're at 7, I might say that I want you at a 10, an 11 before it really makes sense for us to get to and plug in productization. But if you are the personality that's like, oh no, if you're telling me here's what I need to have in place as my kind of quote unquote foundation, then I can get that in place, no problem, and meet you there, right? Like catch you in a few. If that's you, great. You know yourself. Okay. And so there are definitely folks who I've worked with inside Sold Out Services who are at very different stages. It is not one of those programs or strategies, right, to implement into your service business where I'm going to say, you must have already worked with 23 clients. You must have already made 6 figures. You must be making X amount per month consistently. None of those things actually matter when it comes to productization, because there can be people out there who've worked with 1 client and are ready to productize. There can be people out there who've worked with 30 and aren't ready to productize. And so that doesn't really matter. And so that means there's a nuance to this conversation. Okay. The things that I am looking for when I see that you're ready specifically for productization and then, sold out services is a couple of things that come into play regarding your actual delivery, your results, not necessarily your industry, like your niche in your industry. There's definitely a wide variety inside my client roster, but also how you look at those things. Okay. Some of these things, like I can't strategize you out of looking at differently. It's your own kind of mindset work and perception that you need to be aware of is impacting the result, so that if you need to kind of rework that or look at it in a different way, great. As long as you're open to looking at that in a different way, then we can work well together, right? So specifics. You're in the service industry. You are done for you and or done with you. Not DIY, right? That's not what we're even talking about here. You are someone who can say what niche that you're in, what industry you like to serve, and what result you like providing, right? It's the specifics of what it is that you do. And you either know that very confidently because that's the niche that you've carved out for yourself and you have evidence for that, right? I'm a web designer who likes to work with bookkeepers, and those are the people I've been serving for the past 3 years, right? And I have like some packages and I have some containers and I have a little bit of a process. I know it could be better. And I know that this is the thing that I want to commit to and go all in on and make more money from and serve more clients from. Okay. There's a difference in that versus I've been in business for a few years. I've called myself an OBM. I started as a VA and then maybe I did OBM, and I've kind of focused on launch strategy, but then sometimes maybe it's tech support and systems. And then sometimes maybe it's just like behind the scenes, and sometimes it's with email. And there's a variety of things that you can do and that you are good at, but there's no clear I do it for these kind of people, and here's the result that they get. Even if that's not worded properly, right? But if you can kind of brain dump it out with me, then we can get somewhere. We have something to work with, right? If you are a coach, even a consultant, who I know sometimes those are a little bit more intangible results, but there's a difference in like someone who's a coach who really focuses on like money mindset and paying down debt and building savings and getting this result, right? Versus the more kind of like general, not tangible coach result. Okay. So if I were to ask you, what do you do? Who do you do it for? And what's the result you like providing? Do you have an answer to that? And again, it doesn't matter if you have an answer to that because you've worked with 10 or 15 or 30 clients, or you have confidence in your answer to that because of your history of expertise and skill set and network. So an example of that is there's a business owner who came into Sold Out Services who was brand new. She was in the middle of landing her very first client. And the reason why I was so confident that SOS was going to be a right move for her is because she was bringing to the table 10, 15 years of corporate experience doing that thing. Even though it wasn't her title, right? She was like I can't remember her title in the corporate space, but she took everything she learned from that role and how she impacted that company and shaped that into a consulting service when she left that agency. And she had been there for a decade. And so she was able to say, okay, of all the things that I did at that agency, what did I really like? What provided a really good result? And what could I kind of package up and present as an offer? And because of that history and because of the confidence that she had in those skill sets and saying, oh, yeah, like just because I don't have clarity around it, I know what it is, you know? And I was able to help her pull out some of those things and really frame them in a language of service, a language of this is an offer. And here are the results I've gotten. Here are the case studies and examples of that based on her prior experience, which then helped convert and land that first client. As soon as we did that, it was like, okay, yeah, this is the language that we can now test to make sure we get other people in the door. But what you're doing and what you're offering isn't changing. It's the positioning of that. That you're going to have to tweak forever and always, anyways. I'm looking at the container. Are you confident in what it is that you do for people who, and what does it actually provide for them? That truly is like the bar of, is productization right for you? Now, the kind of subset layer of this is a little bit about how many times have you provided this service, this offer to someone. For my folks who have only done it once, we can productize something that doesn't exist yet. We can. What that tells us, though, is that we are going to need to be in a longer relationship after we productize to make sure that we are assessing how did what we hypothesized would need to be set up and put in place, how is that actually working? Do we need to improve any of the milestones or the workflows or the segmentation or whatever, right? What needs to be tweaked in order based off actual people running through it, right? And testing it. What needs to be changed at this point now that we have truth, right? And results. Those of you who've already done your service with 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, 30 people, that number doesn't matter. But if I were to sit down and say, okay, don't think about like what you have in place right now, but if someone wants to get that result that we've already talked about, that you like getting people, that you've gotten people, that you're confident you can get people, what needs to be put in place in order for that to happen? Okay, if we dial it down into this container, what needs to be put in place in order for that result to happen? And it's there that we're able to kind of really pick apart the different buckets of your lead gen and conversions, your onboarding, delivery, scope, assets, your re-engagement, your reactivation, your sustainability, right? All of those kind of buckets of our business have productization levers that we can pull. It's not just one big thing, it's 100 tiny levers, right, that make up productization. And so for some of you who maybe have only worked with a handful of clients, that middle spot of the like actual onboarding, delivery, assets, et cetera, that's going to need to be really monitored to make sure that how we have it set it up is the way that it needs to be set up. But my goal for you is to quite literally change the way you think about service delivery and productization opportunities so that even outside of our container, you can say, okay, well, here's what I have set up now based on the work that we did in SOS. Maybe it's 3-6 months later and we've got to refine some things, but you know how to refine it in a way that supports your productization framework. That's what I want for you. So think about the history that you've had with clients or your network and your experience overall. Think about the type of people who it's for, the result that you want to provide. Think about your unique kind of your IP, your intellectual property of how you go about providing that service. And I want you to start thinking about it in phases and in chunks. And the work that we do together is really analyzing each of those and inserting productization when we can and where it makes sense. Because it's not about completely automating your way out of the delivery, literally at all. We're going to talk about what productization isn't in another episode and some of the common misconceptions about it. But I want you, again, just because you don't know how it could unfold or what it could actually look like, or it seems like a dream scenario that couldn't apply to you because your service is so unique, I want you to leave those assumptions in a corner and come into the, okay, if I want more revenue, this is the lever I need to pull. So therefore, I'm confident that I can work with the right people to figure out how to make it happen. That's it, right? It is truly one of those, if this is what I want, then it will be. That's it. And trusting yourself that you're going to get the support and the tools and access to the right resources in order to make that happen. And I have seen over and over and over again the impacts of productization on the back end and the ease in which service providers are able to like exponentially grow their revenue when they have this in place. It is bananas. And I'll remind you, especially if you're a seasoned service provider, there was a time where you couldn't imagine, working with more than 3 people. And then you started working with more than 3 people and you figured it out and you set up the systems in order to do that. And this is that next level. Because in what I've seen in my own experience and within my clients, I went from someone who was working with 3 people, very like one-on-one, deeply, intimately, and doing a lot of things for those folks because I didn't know what my productized container was going to be. And so I was like, yep, I can do that. Yep, I can do that. Let me figure this out. Let's do this. Oh, I don't like doing those things, but this over here, I really want to dig into. Oh, and it provides this cool result. Oh, and I can see how it could be applied to these industries and types of businesses or people at a certain stage, right? Let me go try to do more of that. And I did. So I went from being able to work with about 3 people to all of a sudden I had about 5 to 7 clients per month that I was doing deep work with. and I hit my capacity ceiling again, right? It's not a bad thing. It's just part of the process. You hit the ceiling and you either say, okay, this is my ceiling. I'm good with that. Or you're not. And so then you need to refine, right? But typically what I've seen is that the ceiling where I got to, where I knew deeper efforts were going to need to be deployed in order for me to get past it, for me was about 5 to 7K per month. As soon as I got that, I either needed to raise my prices so I could work with less people, or if I wanted to stay in this price range, I needed to figure out a more streamlined approach. And I did both. And so I dipped down in client workload for a minute while I was kind of figuring it out, but my revenue didn't dip because I increased prices, right? Brought on different projects from people who are in a different room, right? A different network. And after doing that and kind of figuring out some of my systems behind the scenes, I was able then from 1 to 3 people to 5 to 7 people, back down to like 4 to 5 people, to like the next month, or I think it took me like 2 months to get all the things set in place. And then I like announced the thing and brought in people, whatever. I had like 15 clients and it was fine. It was great, actually. And so as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, well, at every capacity ceiling that I'm hitting, if I'm making these changes behind the scenes, it doesn't just allow me to work with 1 to 2 more people. It allows me to work with 5, 7, 10 more people at a time. And that extends my runway of hitting my revenue capacity ceiling majorly. And people were still getting great results. I was still in it with my clients and really, really enjoying that the capability of working with people in that way. Because what it really does at the root isn't just increases your revenue because you're able to work with more people. It allows you to show up in your genius and do that more instead of doing the management as much. We're productizing the management and the delivery of your genius, not you getting to do it. There is a difference. And the conversation that I have a lot with my clients is really kind of being cutthroat about what is your actual genius and what isn't. There are a lot of things that we convince ourselves is our genius that anyone or any system could actually do. Or there's a way that we could bottle up that genius in a framework, in a structure, in a system, right? So I'll leave it with this. Just because you don't know how to do it doesn't mean it isn't possible. And I want you in the conversations here on this show and inside my upcoming webinar, which if you have not saved your free seat, go do that. You can head to soul.services.com/webinar. I'm going to be going over the productization framework and how it is the only lever for service providers to pull who want more revenue to equitably increase their capacity and impact more clients in 2026. It is the lever. And I'm asking that you put on the little bit of Delulu lens to this conversation. And instead of immediately saying, that couldn't work for me, my work is too custom. That couldn't work for me, I'm on calls all the time, there's no way to productize that. And instead of that, say, I wonder what parts I could productize. I wonder what could I eliminate 3 hours a week of my time? 5 hours? 10 hours? What's the challenge here? What's exciting to me about figuring out the puzzle of? Because that's all that business is. It's a constant, I got to a point where I'm at a ceiling, I'm at capacity, I'm doing business in a way that doesn't feel good to me. Okay, what do I need to adjust? what needs to change in order for me to get right with myself and right with my business. And this is just one of the things that is a part of that. It's a part of business. It just is. There's nothing wrong. You haven't broken anything. You're not doing anything wrong. This is just that next level and the lever that you can pull to get there. So I'm officially inviting you to the webinar. Go save your free seat right now, soldoutservices.com/webinar. Sign up. It's happening November 11th, 2025 at noon Central. There will be a replay if you sign up. Come live. We're going to workshop like real life situations. So you get a lot of direct feedback that way. And that's when doors will officially open to Sold Out Services, where I walk you through how to install these systems in your business. I'm super, super excited. If you have any questions whatsoever about productization, about the webinar, anything that's coming up, don't hesitate to slide into my DMs over on Instagram at Emylee Says. Hey, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Sell the Damn Service. I'm really honored that you spent however many minutes you just did with me. Now, if you could go do me a very quick favor and be sure to like, subscribe, leave a rating and a review for this podcast over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or, pick your favorite platform. I'm not going to be that choosy. It truly means the world to me. It's how little tiny shows that are like mine, that are self-funded and, being edited in between dinner time and school pickup, it helps us get seen. It's free for you to do and takes just a couple of minutes. And I would love you forever if I could send you an edible arrangement as a big thank you. I would. So instead, consider this giant thank you directed just at you for going to do that. And share this episode or this podcast with a friend who needs to hear it. I love ranting and raving about service-based business strategies. And, I think more people should listen to this show, honestly. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I really, really, really am grateful that you're here, and we will chat very soon.